turning and turning in the widening gyre. The falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart. The center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. Or a tangle of web-like spirals, greenery and foliage. Greetings, groovy people. How are you all doing out there? Holding in there? Just wanna veg out and watch an unfolding pattern? Well, guess what I'm doing in this week's video? This is the Blue Dragon, and I beckon you to come along as I babble about whatever feels good, which is, this week, apparently nature and patterns. The word of Wednesday is gyre, which I stated earlier in the video. And while things don't get as crazy as Yeats or Junji Ito with the spirals, this page is going to end up congested with the plant background that I gave Yuli from my free, not safe for work webcomic Dark Horse in October's Q&A video. I'll put the iCard up in the upper right hand corner if you want to know what I'm talking about. That was a really awkward sentence, and I'm not going to edit it. Sorry. You can hear me in my full improper English. But anyway, it goes without saying by now that my target audience are adults, but I say that in every video. I just do it to cover my ass, so these videos are for adults. Enough said? Enough said. Okay, moving right along. I want to talk a bit about some more literature influences, and then I'm going to talk a bit about Yuli's powers, and this is all relating to the pattern that I'm doing in the background. But yeah, I'm going to be talking about Yuli's powers, which we saw blossom on Comic Fury, or in Comic Fury? Anyway, Dark Horse on Comic Fury. Sorry, Tapas and Webtoons, those aren't up yet, so I am going to have spoilers at the end of the video. I will warn before I start talking about stuff that's happened in future acts, so, you know, I do that. I try to do that in these videos. Yeah, cool beans? Okay, so, without going into the tawdry details of my complicated college days, suffice it to say that I nearly completed a double major. It sounds so much more meaningful than it is. I'm kidding. But in ceramics and English. But guess what? I didn't get a double major. I was so incredibly close, but I was burned out, and my dumbass didn't complete one final essay for Milton, or on Milton, to which I've never let myself forget how stupid that was to not muster the motivation to complete it. I don't know, man. Milton is the bane of my existence. I do talk about Milton in this video in the upper right-hand corner. Anyway, yeah, it was stupid, but I was burnt out, and I was broke by that point. I just could not, for the life of me, pin down what I wanted to write regarding Milton. But this isn't to say that I'm not inspired by literature, like his literature, or literature of all kinds, from Toni Morrison's Beloved, which we read in our American Gothic course. That same teacher in that same class had us watching The Crow and reading Obar's comic, The Crow. I mean, I'd read it before because my mom had it because, you know, mullets. Anyway, I'm just kidding. But this professor, she was just one of my favorite professors, one of my favorites. And to this day, I have mad respect for her for having such a variety of genres. But yeah, from Morrison to Shakespeare to Ginsberg to Yeats, I've always drawn inspiration from the written word. I try not to hammer people over the head with these influences, but I do like to drop subtle to non-existent nods to things that have inspired me, that I've come across throughout my years of devouring books, poems, film, and music, and just, you know, art and culture of whatever kind. Now, I realize I'm not talking about anything new. So many people discuss literature and art as their influences. I'm boring, I'm cliched, that's fine, I'm happy with it. But, I mean, hell, even if you look at, like, Brave New World, it was, like, one of those books I feel kind of lacked all subtlety in its discourse on the importance of art and culture to humanity, but only Shakespeare. I know it's a product of its time, but damn! Huxley was savage to the remaining natural indigenous peoples. I mean, again, I know it's a product of his time, but sheesh. But I digress. Suffice it to say, Yeats and his poem, The Second Coming, which I opened this video up with very poorly, I might add. I'm not a thespian, you guys. I can't. If you can't tell from these videos, I'm not a very good public speaker. Who would have known that I'd done it for 10 years? Doesn't mean I'm any good at it. But yeah, The Second Coming was one of those works that, when younger, I found kind of edgy, as we would call it now, edgy. But now that I'm older, I just really respect the poem, as it is, along with its revelations theme, and, it's just something that inspired me just as much as The Postman or The Stand, which I discussed in another video, but I can't remember which one, so just go watch them all if you want to see it. I keyed. Final Fantasy VII was another one of those stories that had a major impact on me. I mean, it too is in a kind of post-apocalyptic world. So, yeah, the concept of the fallen world, or more accurately, fallen or failed civilization, is something that has often preoccupied my mind, because I was always very interested in environmental studies. Talking about college, I took several courses in that. I don't want to get into it, because this video will get too long. But I've always been interested in nature, and I've found it both useful and interesting to learn how to do things from scratch, specifically as a precaution if I'm ever in a situation where I need to rely on my own skills, my own two hands to survive. And that I'm an history nerd also, and something of a naturalist. I've always liked nature and all that. So there's that. Yeah, there's spoilers to follow because I'm getting into the part of the video where I'm talking about Yuli, or Odysseus, as I call, his real name is Odysseus. But skip ahead to this time. I'm going to go more into discussing Odysseus and why I chose to give him, kind of plants, or wood is kind of the elemental theme. Which they have that element in Eastern cultures. I'm going to be going into why I chose plants and vegetation for his element. Being fond of nature, the outdoors, all things plants. Odysseus is probably one of my favorite characters, as his powers are derived from plants. As I mentioned a minute ago, wood, plants, flowers, the like. In Act 3, I specifically begin Yuli's flash forward to what happened to him with a foxglove as a bit of foreshadowing for two things to come in Dark Horse. One is Yuli's connection to the world of Flora. So that was very important, and I wanted to make sure I made that clear when I opened Act 3. The other is a hint of another character who has yet to be introduced into the story, and it's going to be a while before I get around to getting them in there. So, creating magic, attacks, and other powers using plants as a base has been very challenging. But some of my ideas and plans for a few of his powers are informed by the character Poison Ivy from Batman. I don't read a lot of Western comics, but Batman, especially the Batman animated series in the 90s, those were kind of some of my favorite cartoons, and I do like some of the Batman storylines. And X-Men, but anyway, I digress. But also, more recently, as I pick through the thorns, as they say, of this character, I found Steven Universe to be moderately influential on what direction I may choose to take Odysseus's powers. I've been having this kind of idea anyhow, but Steven Universe and some of the things he could do has also been something that's kind of in the back of my mind. Obviously, I'm gonna make things my own, but and not copy off of that. But it's kind of influencing me on which way I want to take Odysseus's powers. But I think that's enough for this time. The question of the week: what poem inspired you to create or motivated you to take a certain path? I shared some of mine, one of mine, but I've talked about poetry in past videos. And, I wanted to hear some of your favorite poems, and maybe I can check them out. I love poetry So yeah, tell me what you like and I might check it out. If it's free online somewhere. Okay. Thanks as always. Go out to my fantastic patrons. Thank you so much. You rock. You know who you are. Anyone wanting to do so themselves may find subscription and one-time donation links down in the description below. If you don't want to dole out money, I humbly accept likes, subs, and ringing the bell thing. I've also got the shop link down below if you're interested in supporting by making a purchase of anything I have in the shop. Have a good week, folks. Peace and love. Fare you well, and keep on trucking.